Now get ready. The ride is going to get a lot more interesting from here. Here's why. When I said that the energy of our next speaker might strike you like a hurricane, I meant it. We're going to go on a journey with a man who promises that he will drive you nuts and you will love it. So help me welcome to the stage. Come on into the studio, Hurricane. You have the power. What?
Hello.
Almost.
Hello there. This is Hurricane H.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you and see you, and I can hear you in stereo. So what was that all about?
Oh, that was just my little entrance.
Dun, 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 dun. Here comes the hurricane.
I got my special effects going on here, so don't mind me.
All right, so I'm going to have a good time with you because you are used to coming in like the hurricane. And so I want you to first explain to people, where did you get that name?
Oh.
Come on, because I know a little bit about this story when you interviewed me on your podcast, but now it's my turn. So come on, what's the story? Tell it like I've never heard it.
First of all, thank you, Jackie, for having me here. And it's reverse. We have reverse roles right now, so this is going to be fun. Well, actually, Hurricane is... so I've been in my career in New York City pretty much all my life, and my business life. And 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to work in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, obviously. And so same business, just different pace in terms of work ethic.
Pause. Yep. Pause. You got to tell people what the business is so they have context.
Yes. All right. So my career path, my day-to-day, job is in the HMO world, the health maintenance organization, managed care, insurance, usually and primarily government programs. We do other things, but those are the primary. So Medicaid, Medicare, state insurance for children, things like that.
We can tell that you're from New York by the pace of your speech.
All right. Well,
I will invite you to slow it down because my ears cannot listen as fast as you speak.
Okay, I'm gonna try to tone it down. How about that? Well, we said a hurricane, so hurricane comes with with some noise. All right, so I'm slowing it down. But yeah, so I started my career path literally in 93, 94 actually, borderline 93 end of 93, and I started in the insurance world in a new movement. I'm talking about movement. It was just a new concept that was designed to help people that have Medicaid or any government programs move into like some sort of a managed care concept. So that's where we started. And of course, over the years, I was able to move fast in my career path to the next level and the hierarchy, levels. And eventually I made it to senior management. And one opportunity came to Philadelphia as, to run a division of sales. And so coming from New York market, grassroots, crazy, we're all over there. It's like guerrilla marketing going on and everything. And, it's really sales, hardcore sales, right? And so, everything's different. The way we do operations, the way we run business, the way we do training, the way we do everything. And we do everything fast. So I'm trying to slow down, but that's how we do it in general, right? It's just amazing because that's just the way it is, right? In New York, everything is moving quick.
That's the pace of life in New York. My guy's a Bronx boy. I get it.
There you go. So and what happened is, so I go there, and actually the team that brought me there, my senior person, who's the chief, the CEO at the time, he came also from New York. Obviously, we worked together in the city, and so he said, "Come on in. We have an opportunity for you. Come on and make some moves here." So I go and I do my thing, and what happened is the pace that I brought in, or the energy level that I brought in, was very fast for them. I mean, it was just a fact. And I didn't give the name to myself. They gave it to me. So when I go to places, there's a meeting or something, oh my God, here comes the hurricane. Here comes Hurricane H. And now, so my first name is Hisham. My middle name is John. My last name is Al-Namadi, but so known in the industry as Hisham. So here comes Hurricane Hisham, thus Hurricane H. Now, when obviously, eventually, I could not keep up with that pace, to be honest with you. I missed my New York speed. So I went back to New York about just in the middle of COVID, actually, last year. And also, the commute was killing me. I was doing about 2 hours each way. I mean, listen, for me, opportunity is opportunity. You go after the opportunity. You go whatever it is, right? And
okay, so pause.
Yep.
We're going to let everybody take a deep breath.
Okay.
And we're going to say, how long were you in Philadelphia?
2 years. 2 years.
Okay. So for 2 years, you were doing the 2+ hour commute each way.
Yes.
Because opportunity is where opportunity is.
That is right.
So what was the opportunity that brought you back to New York?
A similar opportunity, literally just closer to home. That's what I'm doing right now. And again, just similar industry, similar concept, same role basically, just in a New York plant. And believe it or not, at the time there was, so I worked in the company. I was the chief sales and marketing officer in New York, and the company closed. And so for about a year, I did some consulting until the Philadelphia, came upon. And of course, at the time, there was nothing going on in New York City. And again, as you go to a VP level, things like that, it's just harder to find these jobs. And you can select a different role, but it might not be at the same pay. It may be a little difficult. It may be hard for your resume, whatever. So for me, just an aspect of aesthetic in your resume.
Now we understand opportunity is where opportunity is. And you had been without an opportunity for a year. So a 2.5 hour commute made sense.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
You gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, context is really helpful because I, in my wildest dreams, could not figure out how a 2.5 hour commute each way made sense.
Well,
now I get it.
Too.
Yeah, I get it. You were incentivized both by the carrot and the stick.
That's right. Well, to be honest with you, there was another thing there, and I always believe in following the right leadership, and so the person I went with. And the persons, I mean, there was 2 of them. They're just awesome people, and you want to work with them. And they're true leaders in the business. And so that was another reason why I went. I mean, even an opportunity comes in, sometimes you gotta be selective as who you work with and things like that. So that was one of the main things, in addition to the money, of course, and just the fact that it's a good time. Yeah. So. But that's that. So my name became Hurricane H in that world. Some of them call me Tasmanian Devil, so that was another one.
The Tasmanian Devil. There
That's
we
right.
go. That explains a lot about your energy. That's a great visual.
That was exactly the visual about it.
Is that why your emblem is a triangle like that? Because that's what the Tasmanian Devil looked like when he was traveling around.
Talking about that?
Yeah.
No, that's just my radio logo. So when I decided to do this, my regular radio podcast and all the stuff, I wanted to have a stage name, and I was thinking like, well, it couldn't be anything better. I mean, I already have one. Hurricane H it is. Now, obviously, the radio and the channel is dedicated to health, all physical, mental, spiritual.
Okay. Nobody has your resume, so we're going to talk about this.
Yep.
How we met was that I got matched up as a possible guest for you on your podcast, and it's iHealth Radio.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So now you can unpack the components of health, but take a deep breath first. We're going to slow you down just a little more because you slow down for about 3 sentences and then your foot goes back on the accelerator. So slow it down for us.
All right. I'll try. That's funny. I've been told that before, so don't worry. I just have to slow it down and see where I can go from there, but not too slow.
Not too slow. I would never expect you to go slow. I just, it's like, all right, if I'm struggling to catch your words, I know that anyone in the audience might be having a similar issue. And, I'm wondering if part of it would help is if your microphone was a little lower. And that would be just for those of us that sometimes lip read to stay caught up with things. We'd be able to speak. No, I don't mean your volume lower.
Uh-huh.
I mean your microphone. There you go.
All right.
So don't turn your volume down. That would be bad.
No. Well, I wasn't sure if it was the volume that was too high or just this, but now is it good?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, how are we doing?
So we are doing really well in that now we know why you were called Hurricane and why you kept it after you left Philadelphia. It's so you would have a stage name. Why did you want a stage name? Most people are out to brand themselves. Come on, what's the story behind this?
I actually, so there's another joke about this. So I have been told for many years that I look like The Rock. So Dwayne Johnson, the actor, and all that good stuff. And so he has his own The Rock. And I was kind of like, the same concept. I needed something that would be just unique for the radio and the shows as Hurricane H. In addition, my name is not the easy one out there. So Hisham, John, Alan Mari, I mean, it gets heavy. So I needed something a lot easier.
Well, there you go. And they did pick a really good name for you because you do have the energy that comes in. Now, granted, you've got the connection to health through your career path.
Yes.
But very, 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 very few people in that corporate high pressure world start a radio podcast sense of reaching out to the world with ideas. What was behind that? Where did that inspiration come from?
So, well, first of all, I've always wanted to do something as a legacy. And, after doing almost 27 years in this business, I did realize that there's not enough knowledge about the business or health in general that is in one place. You can find health information anywhere. I mean, you go on Google and you can pull up any, article you want, right? There's podcasts here, podcasts there, but I wanted more an idea of a channel, just like there is the weather channel if you want weather. I mean, other channels do, weather spots, but there is an actual weather channel. Similarly, I wanted to have a health channel. So that's the iHealth channel. Now, I'm not a broadcasting over the satellite. I'm more online. So that's the iHealth radio. And so I took that from just the concept of radio and also had a visual component. So I call it the iHealth channel. And the mission was to share, educate, inspire, motivate, and enlighten. And really just bringing it the 4-1 of the healthcare biz and interrelated fitness, wellness into the world, and bring in some real value from guests that have experiences that share things. I mean, an example, I had Dr. Hayem the other day with Q&As about mental health and things like that. So it's something that people may not have access to directly, or they may not get, the real stuff, right? And the news and the media or the mainstream is a little, I guess, mainstream. It's scrutinized a little bit. It's hard. You don't get the whole direct stuff. This is more an opportunity to have a direct line to the access to the real, what's happening out there, what's behind the scene, what's behind the curtain in health. And, we started just in the middle of the beginning of, COVID. So obviously things slowed down a little bit, but again, the shows remained. So I still have a lot of, bookings right now. And then obviously the concept was to take it to the next level where we can bring in real value on taking people on the road to hospitals, to, where the healthcare is being made, where it's being delivered. And that's really the concept. So that's one thing. And also I wanted, again, I mentioned legacy. Legacy to me is like, you want to, have something that people like positive stuff that you can share with people that they can actually use and also educate others. I believe in knowledge to be handed down and shared, not just to be kept. And again, not everybody, to your point, does this or is even thinking about it. And that was the other thing. I'm always trying to be innovative and different. And that was one of them. I want to be the first one to have that. And there you go. So now it looks like that's the case. And about almost a year and a half in the making. So that was pretty much the story behind it.
That is really awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to unpack this a little bit because you said that there were several things that you wanted to accomplish with this, several lanes, and you listed them all off, and I might have miscounted, but I want you to take us through that. What were the things that you wanted this journey that you're on and bringing information to the world to accomplish?
Well, it's delivering, positivity, motivation, knowledge about health and anything that is health related. And really just there's I don't want things to be covered up or things like that. I want people to see what it is for what it is. When I put something out, it's really what it is. It's clear. It's not censored. It's not, pre-edited in terms of knowledge or content, things like that. I share exactly what's going on. So if I go to a place right now and do an interview, it will be exactly what it is. If I see something, it will be the news. It will be the real things, right? And ultimately, it's also given an opportunity to other people to come on the channel and to the radio and share their value. And I mean, the example we had is you on the show. A lot of people have received that message and learned, even me, I've learned about suicide prevention and things like that I didn't know much about. And so that's important. And I think a lot of people, you're doing this work right now in this movement, which is a great movement, and it is to share the information. And that's the thing. I mean, information is available, but people get distracted. There's so much stuff out there that you can be watching on a day-to-day basis, listen to, and maybe not real value to you. But this is different. At least that's how I see it. And I want to do more with it. For example, I want to bring people closer to the HMO and the insurance world. We haven't had a reality show right now for insurance. We've seen other reality TV, but we haven't seen one. So that's something that's stuck in my future, right? That's something I'm looking into. I'm looking at health and fitness and wellness movies and maybe documentaries and stuff like that. So it's beyond just where we are today. This is just the beginning of the journey. But that's really the long-term goal. And for me, goals are part of my life. I always set goals. So, long-term, short-term, mid-term, there's always going to be something, a new venture, a new, task and a challenge.
Okay, so now we understand, maybe people are starting to understand why the title of this episode was "I Will Drive You Crazy." I will drive you nuts.
I do that.
You will love it. Okay, so the vision that you had for this, not the goal side, but the impact you wanted it to have. The power of this conversation for me is that most people that I run into, especially when I am talking with survivors, with people who have made an attempt or they have lost a loved one to suicide, the biggest thing is that they didn't realize the impact that they were having, that they could have, that they would have in the world. They didn't get that sense of self. Now, given that you have this name of hurricane, you got a sense pretty early on that you could impact the world. Was there ever a time that you weren't sure?
I wouldn't say there was a time I wasn't sure. The doubt is always part of life, right? I mean, you kind of think of things, and sometimes people will tell you you're never going to make it, it doesn't work. And one thing I use is I don't listen too much to that kind of angle, that energy, right? I have, since I was a kid, this was always been my thing. I mean, I was a younger person in middle school, and I had dreams, right? And targets and goals and things like that. And I wanted to make an impact for me, for my family, and just do something different. Even when I started in the industry, in the insurance world, I wanted to be different. I want to help people. And actually, that's why I enjoyed what I've been doing all these years. I mean, doing sales and insurance is not easy as a job, but the satisfaction of helping so many lives over the years, getting the right health. And you hear that satisfaction when people say, thank you. You gave me the right policy. You helped me out get my surgery. You helped me this and so on and so forth. I have friends right now that tell me it was you who gave me the insurance that helped me, through my years with my kids. So stuff like that. So that impact, strategy has always been with me. It's always been in literally in my body. It's like a gene in me. Right. And
all right.
Yeah, it helps.
It helps. All right. So I'm going to take you back even younger then. Because yeah.
Let's do it.
This is even fun for me, and because it sounds like you had an awareness that you wanted something different to happen in your life than what you were seeing around you.
Yes, always.
What were you seeing around you?
Well, so I'll have to take you back to my humble beginnings as a child. So I was born overseas in Morocco, and English was not my first language. Ultimately I spoke French and the dialect of Arabic. And so English was kind of like, where I wanted to be, because Morocco was a French colony. So I learned French as a default, but I was not really thrilled with it as a language as much as I was thrilled with English, watching the movies and things like that. So I started learning English at an American school, or American Language Center. And in there was this big sign that every year I was looking at, and it said, and this was when I was in elementary school, and it says, if you have a high school and you want to work in Epcot, Disney World, Florida, you can actually apply. So like, wait a minute. So that's exactly where it started for me. That was like the first thing that I'm like, I want to be different. I want to go there. I want to be in Disney. I want to work there. And I wanted the American dream. Obviously when you're a kid overseas, maybe here, like even my kids, I tell them, you don't see it because you live here, you have everything up front. Over there is a little different. You don't have a lot of money. It is not an advanced country. Either you have money or you don't, basically, family-wise, right?
Okay,
and
so in Morocco, I'm going to slow that down just a second. What you're
Sure.
saying is that there's not a middle class.
Well, at the time it wasn't.
Okay. So
When
at the
now
time,
there's a little bit more of that, but back in the days, it's either you're rich or you don't have much, right? So my parents didn't have a lot. I mean, they were just, just like a typical family living, month to month, that kind of thing. Dad worked, my mom didn't, and so that was it. But they had one thing, and my dad didn't have much education. He had some education. My mom didn't have any, and so again, that's just what it is. I'm proud of my parents for until the end, right? They just did one thing. They invested in me and my education. They wanted me to have a better education, things like that. So whatever that had to do with that, they put in for me, right? They supported it. They didn't go to school. They didn't do my homework, things like that. So I had to do everything on my own. And also a lonely child. So I was just the one and the only kid. So yeah,
makes a difference. I'm the youngest of four. Yeah.
Yeah, it's two different worlds. So yes, in a way, it's easier when you have one child, right? And by the way, in our culture, technically, one child was actually a unique case because most of the families, like my dad had 12, brothers and sisters. So
Wow.
he was like the opposite of the trend, right? And again, because he realized his limitations and they wanted to give the best to me in terms of what they could afford, one of the things is the best thing you can do is have education and support it. So when I said I wanted to learn English, when I said I wanted an opportunity to go to the US and things like that, they didn't stop it. I wanted to go to a good university, they didn't stop it. They supported it. Now, of course, I did my part and got a full scholarship for school. Now, this was an international school and it was in tourism. And so as I was looking at that sign year after year, I figured, like, even with high school, what am I going to do if I came to the US and just get a gig there, right? I mean, it's nice, but what's the deal? When you finish, what happens? So I had to make sure that I get my degrees and things like that before I can entertain that. It just happened that I took a degree in sales and marketing in the hospitality or tourism. And so I got hired by Disney eventually once I got my degree. And that's how the journey began in the US. And so I took the leap from, North Africa to the US.
Wow.
Got into the in Florida. It was a beautiful welcome, by committee there from Disney, and I had a blast. I had a great year. I was actually part of the Epcot Center showcase at in the Moroccan Pavilion. So I was a tour guide. So I was taking people on tours, explain to them, how what the culture is, things like that. Explain to them about the history of Morocco, the interaction, the history of Morocco and the U.S., all kind of stuff. The wedding. I mean, a lot of people have questions. I mean, it's a Muslim country by default. It has a Jewish heritage, and a lot of people didn't understand how that worked, dynamics wise. And it was just a great opportunity for me to educate people about it. So the educating part was always there. And I always loved sharing those things and sharing that story, sharing the information. And so that was the beginning. And I got there, contract finished in Disney. So I had to find something different. I met my first wife and we got married, and the rest is history. I stayed. So that was it.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. And that's a really fast history. And
Yes.
the beauty of that story is you are so much a force to be reckoned with in the health industry. And now you're coming into the media space with bringing information in and leaving a legacy, because you are prolific in the space. I mean, you pump out content faster than I do, and that's saying a lot. So the value of understanding where you came from, what motivated you, how your parents' decision to break from tradition and have only one child and invest in the one child in a tradition of large families. The belief that you have about yourself from their decision is what? What did you know about yourself early on?
Is that no one can do it for me. I have to do it myself. I had no choice. I had to, I mean, if I didn't, I would probably have failed everything in my life. I had to focus. I had to really set, goals, and you almost have to become a mature adult at a younger age. and really kind of have to survive, and be able to succeed. And
Okay,
you
hold
start.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Who taught you to set goals? Because in most educational systems, the goal setting is based on what the teachers want to see.
To be honest with you, no one. I mean, no one that I remember, in terms of either teaching or any of that. It's always been so since I was a kid. I mean, my parents sent me to like, summer camps and, like almost like Boy Scouts things. And, and maybe that's where I learned my discipline and things like that, because when you do these things, you learn to fix your bed. You look basic things. I mean, as a kid, I'm talking about 7-year-old, 8-year-old. This was like even as a young age. And that's kind of thing, right? So I had to do my own homework. I had to be responsible for my own education. I had to be, responsible for like, literally getting up early and getting prepared. And, obviously mom, fixed the breakfast and things like that and send me to school. But the idea is like, if I did not do it, my parents trusted me and that was it. If I failed, it would have been the end of it, right? And I would never wanted to at the time even betray their trust in me and just fail. And so that was maybe the motivator, because I knew what I had to achieve for them, because I wanted to make a difference for them. Like I wanted to be the first one to finish, let's say college at the time, for my family, and do something different and be like, my mom used to dream of me like becoming this director and running, a company and things like that when I was a kid. And so maybe that was it. I mean, it's all subconscious at the time and it's just hidden that you want to fulfill those dreams for them, I guess, and show them that you can. And also the opportunity to even support my mom and things like that, because my dad eventually passed away. And my mom lives with me. I'm her caretaker. I take care of her. I'm her caregiver and things. So she's been with me for the last 2 years, and I'm the one who takes good care of her, right? And so whatever she wants, she gets, that kind of thing. And obviously with my family, and so on. So I have 3 kids, and it's fun. And again, my kids right now are teenagers. I have a 15 and a 14. And I've had a teenager who's actually now 25 years old already, but so that's more or less the life. So going back to your question about the goal, who taught you about setting goals? I think that just it all came up from the same piece of.
You actually answered my question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the answer was. Oh,
Yes.
Go ahead. What?
No, I was going to add one more thing that may also have contributed. So one thing that my parents were very, very keen on is that I would not get in trouble, would not fight, get arguments. I was bullied when I was a kid and didn't matter. They would not allow me to fight back or even, challenge people. But one thing they actually did put me into a karate school at the time. And in that particular platform, I was able to learn also additional discipline, because in martial arts, you have that. And believe it or not, at the age of 14, I was already instructing even adults in terms of the martial arts. And so the instruction piece, the organized piece, the streamlining things, and just being.
Yeah. The main thing I picked up first, and we're going to come back to this other bullying story for just a minute. but first, I want to just say, Hurricane, there is one thing that your parents gave you that I think if more parents could get their heads wrapped around this one thing, at a very, very young age, your parents trusted you.
Yes.
They trusted you to take advantage of the education that they were providing, the opportunities. They trusted you to follow through on this. So that's a huge gift. I mean, that is like where most people struggle when we talk about the challenges in life. And we've been working through this in various pieces in some of the episodes, is this idea that if you can trust yourself, you will be much further along and further away from the edge. So they trusted you. Now, the other thing that they did for you is they kept you from defaulting into the behaviors of your community, to not fall into being part of the bully dynamic. And they empowered you to become, how can we say, a less desirable target. Let's face it, Bullies don't tend to target people who are self-confident. And that's one of the hallmarks of martial arts, is that it builds confidence.
True.
You know, because if somebody's going to give you a hard time, they're not exactly going to get away with it if they strike first. Because I grew up, I loved the Kung Fu show. All right. So the original David Carradine, somebody comes at you, redirect rather than check. Yeah. Check rather than maim.
I like that. Yeah.
Maim rather than kill, and
Right.
kill rather than be killed. And I thought, if we just started that way in life with redirecting people's energy, they would kind of get the idea that they can't strike sparks with us, that they're not going to get their emotional need met. We're not going to react. And that lesson from martial arts is so beautiful in this context of how do you help suicide-proof your child? What if they could learn to redirect whatever negative energy came at them, whether it was from a bully or whether it was from their environment in some other way? What if they could redirect that and not get caught up in it?
Well, the fact is, I mean, there's a couple of points here. One is, you mentioned it, about the parents giving the trust factor and sheltering you from having to deal with the nonsense of your community and the bullies and stuff. Now, again, well, let me just talk about the bullying for just a second. So what it was that, I mean, I was a younger kid, in terms of like my community, or at least my neighborhood. At the time, I mean, I was literally more advanced in education. So I focused more in school and things like that. So I skipped a couple, years and things like that. So anyways.
Okay. So wait, we're going to slow this down so that we get the setup here.
Okay.
You had skipped ahead a couple of grades.
Yes.
So you're a couple of years younger.
Correct. And it didn't help.
You're a very motivated student.
And so
that's
that was
something about you that makes you a little different, which is one of the risk factors in my world.
I was a target.
All right. Now that we have that scenario, what happened?
Well, so basically, you get picked on all the time. So you get picked on for two reasons. If you go to school, they don't like you because you're the little, nerdy kid. And also you're like the mommy or daddy kid, like, who's being protected, and, go to school, you don't hang out, you don't do anything with the rest of them, right? So that was the first one. And then in your neighborhood, when you hang out with your friends around the block, whatever, it was Central City. So it was really just the center of the capital, and which is a nice neighborhood and everything. But the kids, always like pick on you because you're smaller, you're kind of like, the geeky one, you don't play, you don't do things, or you do different things than them. They want to play in the street, you're in martial arts, or you're in school, whatever. So that was kind of like, the beginning. And as I started learning martial arts, they knew also that. So they always try to test you. That's the thing. They've been testing me all along. And they try to push you, they try to hit you, they do stuff. And some of them did hit. And, I go to my parents like, guys, I can't allow them to do this. I said, no, you're not going to fight. You're not going to do any of that. You know you can do it, but you're not doing it. And, it was painful at the beginning because it was hard to actually really just stay down and keep you cool because they really push. But eventually, to your point, when they can't get to you, they just let you be. They leave you alone. And now they start appreciating you because you're not the kid that's going to drive them nuts. You're not the kid that's going to fight back. And then now they start like trying to be your friend. And it eventually happened where the same folks started like really becoming your friends. So that was actually, an interesting part of my life. And I'm proud to say it. I mean, the bullying part actually made me stronger. It didn't hurt me as much as, some people actually, it's hard because they do that to you and you buy into it. I just didn't buy into it. That's all. That was it.
The ability that you developed through the martial arts, the ability that you developed through having parents that were absolutely bedrock in their beliefs about what was acceptable and what was not acceptable. There was nothing wishy-washy about your parents saying, you will not fight back. So the martial arts training gave you the ability to stay calm. Because you knew that your life was never going to be in danger.
Oh, yes. To date, I mean, it does help you to evaluate things differently. And I use a lot of the concepts that I learned since the beginning in martial arts. And I still do practice. I've used the same techniques, sometimes even in business and corporate world, in terms of training and discipline, things like that. But the one thing that, to your point, is that it does help you prevent yourself really from going crazy and just reacting. You don't just get met immediately and lose your cool. You kind of pose, you kind of look at, and I even say this: the best fight is the one that never happened. And so if you can avoid a fight, you can avoid any situation where it's dangerous, you can. We have control over some of it. Now, if you get to the point of the Kung Fu movie, if you get to a point where it's your life versus somebody else, that's a different story. And you can still, I guess, deflect enough to avoid any dangerous situation there. But also another thing that it teaches is that you can almost foresee issues, foresee conflict, and avoid it in advance. Like I would walk in a situation right now in the street, and if I see something that's not, I can almost gauge that this is not cool. I'm just gonna go to the other route and change my destination, or just step back and move around. And I've been in a situation when I almost noticed things that were not going to be right, and I just moved on and avoided. So it does help in terms of as we say, be mindful of your surrounding type of thing. And it does work. And
okay, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you because what you just said was so beautiful, and the power of it is amazing in this context.
Mm-hmm.
When they studied communication, mm-hmm. and the percentages vary by the study, but around 7% of our communication is based on our words. And about 38% is based on our tonality and rate of speech. Mm-hmm. And the other 55% is based on body language.
That's right.
So understanding body language gives you the ability to receive information from people at a distance, and to be able to keep aggression at a distance because it's in the body language. You don't have to get close enough for them to say something. That's a lesson worth learning that I had forgotten about. I mean, I'm a dancer, and so dancing is all about communicating your moves, and martial arts, what little I studied of it, was all about not communicating your moves in advance.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't telegraph.
Yeah. So I had the argument between the two sides of my brain on this one, but for you in this context is, my God, the benefit of martial arts is that you can get the communication at a distance.
Yes.
That's huge.
You can see it, you can avoid it, you can even communicate if you want to. If I wanted to show someone that I'm in business, they can understand that without even making movement. And sometimes that in itself serves as a purpose. You don't have to go beyond. When people realize that you're not going to be an easy, take or pray or just, a quick, 1, 2, 3, and they're going to have to deal with you a little differently. People tend to eventually just not mess with you. Even in dress code, I have this fun joke, when we travel, when, my kids and I, my wife, especially if we take road trips, I dress differently. I dress a little bit more like, camouflage, shorts, and maybe like, some stuff that looks a little bit like scarier or like, tougher. And it's just like literally using nature. And it sounds weird. And, people are looking at, probably like, well, this guy's crazy. but really it does help because people look at you like they do gauge from a distance. Like, is this, a bad guy? Is it a good guy? Is it a tough guy? And just automatically they either, now some can be curious, but I have not had those cases. People tend to just walk the other way. They don't mess with you. They don't come close. And so again, it's literally an animal, trait where they use it in camouflage and things like that in the real world, in the jungle. And we see it in a lot of, species. So I use the same concept. Like if you show that you're like, you inflate yourself, whatever, some of the animals do that, it works. And in training in martial arts, you can do those things. And it's part of some of the techniques that we've learned over certain arts, and it does work. And on the flip side, I can also play very weak and play very easy if I wanted to play the reverse and be able to shock people.
Yeah, be more available.
Exactly. And because then people will just think that they got the upper hand, and then they lose the cool, and before they know it, it's over. But that's another tactic. I mean, there's martial arts is in itself a whole world of dealing with structure, dealing with things and the environment. And it does help. And again, it applies to real life. There's nothing in
Yeah.
martial art does not apply in real life.
Absolutely. And so the value of this conversation in my mind is that it will help people clarify, where do you want to invest your time? What do you want to learn? Because learning how to read body language is a very useful tool. I mean, I came through not all of them, I came through a bunch of different sales trainings and a bunch of different personality assessments. You know, they have them now. They've got the bank for communication, and they've got DISC for management, and they've got all of these different, Myers-Briggs back in the day. And I guess it's still around. I don't hear about it as much anymore. The power of understanding what motivates people is the biggest boon to our mission to stop teen suicide, because we started understanding what motivated a bully. And we started understanding what was actually happening at the moment that someone decided that dying was better than living. And understanding these things informed everything that we've done. Hurricane, you came into America with an understanding that bullies exist, that you can't do it the same way everybody else does. You could have come to Epcot with a high school diploma.
I could, yes.
And you chose to delay the trip to America and get a degree. What a great gift that is, to realize that, hey, sometimes the fastest path may not be the best path, which who knows, but it gives people options.
That is a fact. And if I may, one more piece that may help, just to give some idea. So when my contract finished from Disney, just an example, right? I actually came to New York not knowing anyone. I mean, I had literally a bag. I took the bus from JFK into Manhattan and just went to a youth hostel. And then I tried to find a job, and my journey began there. And the reason I mentioned this specific item is because when I was in Florida, I had friends who actually remained behind, that were with me. Our contracts finished, and they all kind of looked at me like I had three heads, like, what are you doing? We can just be literally relocating across the street from our apartment here, and just, there's plenty of opportunity here. It's like, well, I think I can, I crossed the ocean for better opportunities, and I'm not just going to be here working, doing some regular job. I want to do something as a career path. And that was it. So I took a leap of faith, and again, always looking at that same aim of achieving those goals and the dreams. Even my mom's dream, to see you as a son, achieving some of the good milestones in life. And that was it. So my friends literally, they looked at you like, really, you're crazy. And even when I did the podcast, people were like, are you crazy? Who's going to listen to you? and people sometimes make you doubt, like, you can do it, but you have to be firm, and you have to believe in yourself, and know that you can succeed, and you will succeed as long as you don't give up. You just keep at it. So again, I don't know. I just wanted to highlight that item, because I think it is a powerful point where, people will tell you, people will, put your brains, like, oh my God, here, what makes you special? We all special. And that's the other thing, I have different concepts I use, just to keep me pumped, and they work for me. And actually I share them with people, and it works for people too. And some of them are just simple: believe in yourself, and just know that if you want something and there is a will for it, there's going to be a way. Find a way. And there's plenty of ways, and there's plenty of resources. And one more thing, even my kids, I tell them this, you have so much opportunity, that if you travel around the world, you'll see that some people are less fortunate in a lot of ways. And, and I've seen poverty, and I can still see poverty. Even in the US, there's poverty. But the levels of discrepancy, the level of disparity between, our level of poverty in some other places, the resources we have, the education potential we have, things like that. Here, it's very, very, very advanced compared to other places. And there's little that some other people do. So we have what it takes. We just have to leverage everything the right way and make it work.
There's a theory going around that the very fact that we have all of these resources has removed the need to have the determination.
I would tend to agree because we take it for granted. It's there. Okay. It's bad, you know, when you think everything is available to you, you don't value anymore.
So this idea of wanting something enough that you actually have to strive for it, you know, that's a topic that I would love to see you exploring.
Sure.
Getting people to tap into their desire, to a desire strong enough that it actually motivates them to resist the pull of their peers, if you will, like that story you just shared so well about leaving Florida. You know, this is very true that it is so easy to go along with the crowd and to settle for good enough. And it's different when you say, that's not good, that's good enough for you,
That's right.
but that's not good enough for me. And so you walked away from what was familiar again, the same way that you walked away from Morocco to the United States. Now, obviously, you found your home in New York City. I mean, there is no doubt the energy of that city you just thrive on.
I love it.
So,
I have to say, I love New York.
oh, yeah. I mean, people were putting in the chat, if you can make it there.
You can make it anywhere.
There you go. It's up to you, New York. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. So the reality is that your ability to decide for yourself what you wanted and to give yourself permission to want it enough that no one else's expectations could dissuade you.
Yes, and that's going to remain until, you know, until I retire, which even that, I don't think I want to retire anytime soon. But again, my retirement is really doing this. And that's really
I was going to say, you get on a mission, because this is what's happened for me. You know, I took on a mission. Retirement doesn't exist anymore. When I had a business, it was a possibility. With a mission, with one that I'll be honest, the scariest thing I ever did was the day that I said, I'm going to do this, and I know I can't do it alone. I've been a solopreneur most of my adulthood. You know, I'd looked around at a very young age, and there wasn't anybody else around to take care of things. So that's the belief system I grew up with, was that, you know, it's up to me. And that's a great way to be a solopreneur. It's a really lousy way to build a movement, to try to do it by myself. And it's taken me this year and a half since, or a little more than that now. It's been almost 2 years since my daughter Stephanie broke the silence. That was August the 3rd, 2019. It's taken almost all of this time, Hurricane, for me to accept that I took on something I cannot do alone, and it's forcing me to figure out how to work with people. It's not a skill set that I had, other than working one-on-one with my clients. Put me in front of a room, I can teach. But actually motivate, work with, build a team out, it's like, this is all foreign territory to me. And so when you said that, yes, you would come on the show and you would, you know, allow me to interview you, I'm like, oh, cool. This is like getting free coaching from Hurricane. I'm in. Yeah. And I know that that is one of the things that you said you wanted to give to people. You wanted to give them access. And so I love that if somebody is truly motivated, and I'm going to put a filter in place for you. Okay. I'm going to give people the link to your podcast, but nothing else. Because if they're not motivated enough to figure out how to get in touch with you, they are not motivated enough to be able to get benefit from talking to you. Will that work for you?
That would be awesome. And that would be great. That works.
Okay. Because
available.
you offered to talk to people one-on-one.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, I am so going to put some parameters around this to protect you.
Well, again, I've always been available to people, and even at work, I've created programs, within the companies where we have these one-on-ones where people need to change pads and things like that, and it's worked. I mean, it's awesome because people have questions. How did you do it? What is your secret sauce? There's no secret sauce. There's formulas, there's systems you put in place, and there's also your will. But we can talk about that, and it's individualized. I mean, everybody has their own ways, and once you know what they have, you can work with that. And I've done that in trainings. I've coached people. I've mentored leaders, and it works. So again, that's my gift, and I'd be more than happy to share that, my story, and beyond what I just covered here in the last 45 minutes. But certainly there's plenty that we can talk about to help people, guide them and give them all the motivation they need.
Thank you so much for everything that you do, Hurricane, and for making the time to come on the show.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you for the invitation.
You are very, very welcome. And with that, we are going to call that a wrap. We've got 10 minutes till the top of the hour. Hurricane, please take with you all of our love and support. And if you would please continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you. I will. And I will probably have you back on the show.
Oh, I love that. All right. Yeah, I would love to be on your show again. I had so much fun. So the link to the podcast is in the chat. It'll be in the show notes. Everyone enjoy the break, and we'll be back. Hang on. The ride gets more interesting from here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.